Okay, so I want to talk about like the reason why I call myself a modern day shaman instead of just saying I'm a psychonaut is because like a lot of people call themselves psychonauts and they're technically pretty accurate with what they're saying because I feel like a psychonaut is someone who uses psychedelics and explores with psychedelics. A modern day shaman uses the plants and herbs, uses all these different things, uses the psychedelics as well, and explores with them as well. But uses the plants and herbs and all these other things to heal him or herself. Um, and embarks on the journey to then go and try to heal yourself instead of just trying to explore with psychedelics. Um, it's a little more of a whole practice, a whole lifestyle, a whole way of living, just a whole way of being. It changes your way of thinking because you start looking at the plants differently. You start looking at them like these are my helpers, these are my friends, these are my teachers, these are my therapists or my comfort or my whatever. Like, because I use every different plant and herb for a different reason. Like, when I explored with them, I was exploring with them to figure out which ones work for me. And then after exploring with like 30 different plants and herbs, about 5 to 10 of those herbs are plants that work for me. The rest of them I'll probably never use again. So it's that I had to go through like a trial and error to try to find shit that works for me. And I feel like I'm still dying from this dab I took, so. But I feel like a lot of people just are, they're psychonauts, and that's why I said they're really accurate with the term they're saying, because a lot of people just want to explore with psychedelics, and that's fine. But for some weird reason, I got the calling towards all this shit. Like once I got into plants and herbs, blue lotus and wild daga, and then kratom, and then all these different things, and like it just expanded my mind to think, well, plants, there's more plants than just weed. Like, I used to think that weed was the only plant, basically, like, that does what it does. And it is the only plant that does what it does, but every plant that is psychoactive has its own thing. And they're all, like, there's beneficial plants, out there, but I didn't try them yet. Like, so I went and explored. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying you're a modern day shaman. Like, that's why I say modern day shaman, because I wouldn't say I'm a shaman because, I'm people have this idea in their head of what a shaman is. But if you can remove your bias based off of the previous knowledge that you have of the envisionment of a shaman, it would be remove culture basically and just have a human being. A human being in no matter what culture, like shamans used to exist, now they basically don't exist. But they do exist, but it's just those shamans probably are in the modern day world. And over time, everyone's going to be in the modern day world anyways. Like we can't force the natives to stay primitive. That's kind of wrong. As much as we want natives to not interfere and become digital and do all this shit, and we don't want that thing to go away, it's kind of selfish of us to force them to stay a certain way. Like a lot of their children are choosing to do modern day things and choosing to whatever. And a lot of people who are not even Native American are choosing to do, shaman stuff. And, when a white man goes down to, they call him a gringo. And, like, I've seen some really knowledgeable and I would say real shamans who are white. And, I seen this documentary with this dude, and I've seen a documentary with a few people. And, like, I would say that they're all shamans in their own right. I followed this one guy. I would say he's a legitimate yogi. Okay, now they would say that yogis are from India and the real yogi masters or whatever. But I watch a lot of because of the content I make. I watch a lot of content that's a little more. I try to find, I try to find the others. You know what I mean? And I just think that there's that side that does not get many views. The people I talk about don't get many views. Like, um, man, hold on. I wish I can pull up his thing, because his YouTube name is Yogi something, but he's just one out of, like, there's another dude called Sleepy E. Like, I would consider these people some real, like, psychonauts and some real yogi masters and some real, like, they're real. Just because someone wasn't, like, that's what I'm trying to get at is, I seen this other girl, her YouTube channel name is The Modern Shaman or something like that, and she doesn't even use psychedelics, but you don't, or at least not that I know of, but, like, you don't need to use psychedelic, like, it's really complicated of what this thing can be, because everybody is going to do their own thing. It's not like in South America when a shaman when a new shaman became a shaman, he didn't consult with all the other shamans around in the area to figure out what he can do, what plants he will use, whatever. Maybe he came up and there was a tradition in his area, but that tradition in his area of plants that he would use would be different than the tradition in the other people's areas with the plants that they would use. But we're looking at this shamanism like it has to stay a primitive thing. Like it has to stay that, when in the modern day world, those two tribes can mix plants together and they can, like, you know, share idea or whatever. Like, they could change up their plants. They can have completely different plants. Just like I have a completely different, you can call them list of master plants that are like, you can call them Mark's master plants, but they're just the ones that helped me the most, that I learned from the most, that connected with me the most, and that I then went on plant dietas with. Like, I would explore with all these different plants, and then I would go on plant dietas with the plants. Like, I would use the plant, and I would, you know, use it for like maybe weeks on end, months on end, whatever, and try to intake the plant in many different ways. I would try to, like, you know, sometimes I would make an extract, make an alcohol extract, make a water extract, or just take the plant, make a brew, make a whatever. I would just try to explore with the plant, get to know the plant. Like, I got to, like, it's hard to explain, but, like, I would get to know the plant on, like, when you brew a plant, like, with just water, and you brew it into a nice dark brew, like you brew it for 5 to 8 hours or whatever, and it's a nice dark brew. That brew, and like if you turn shit, or if you make an extract, that extract, the water soluble extract, will have a slightly different effect than the alcohol soluble extract. And a lot of times when I was going through this whole like trying to become a modern day shaman, I was literally trying to take the water soluble extract, know that, like, know what that feels like, know what that's like, and take the alcohol soluble extract, know what that feels like, know what that's like. I would also research, because modern day, so I love the molecules, so I'll research the molecules, and I'll research why are they different. They're different because the water-soluble molecules are just this and this, you know, just two molecules maybe, or a few molecules, while the alcohol-soluble, things are completely different molecules. And they're shaped different, they look different, they whatever, they attach to possibly different things. A lot of times they attach to similar things, which is kind of interesting. Like, it's just interesting how, like, plants have this synergistic effect, because then I would just try to take them at the same time together to get a whole effect, and you can get the whole plant effect type thing. And there's this thing, like, man, Like, I tried, red lotus, white lotus, space lotus, um, blue lotus, the whole thing. Um, but extracts and all these different things. And the lotus, motherwort, the daggers, wild dagger and clip dagger, obviously cannabis, um, canna, scaledium titorsum, um, blue vervain. These are all, like, the top ones off the top of my head that I could think about. Ormus, yeah, and something else, I don't know, but it's just, I guess, well, Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds is one too. Like, I would say that's one of the top ones. I love Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds. And I would look at Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds as like an ayahuasca, more like an ayahuasca replacement than an LSD replacement. A lot of people call morning glories or Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds an LSD replacement because they contain LSA. But I would say the experience is more like ayahuasca because the sickness from it, the whatever, is part of the experience, just like the purging is part of the ayahuasca experience. Now, sometimes, because I've taken like capsuled ayahuasca, Psychonaut seeds, and pure NN-DMT, and I didn't throw up, but I did feel nauseous for the first 45 minutes to an hour. But I never threw up. But I think with modern day shamanism, you can kind of just explore, but you can't be a fucking idiot. Like, because you gotta be, like, it's dangerous. Like, I don't want to say it's dangerous, but humans don't know what they're doing because we lost touch with what we are. So because we're diving into shit that's, that humans used to do, we don't understand. You just have to be careful. There is problems sometimes with mixing plants. There's, I did this one mixture where, like, there's been a couple times where I almost, like, felt like I was dying. And there was one time I almost called 911. I made a trip report about that. But this is when I was diving with all these different mixtures and trying things and making different syrups and I was just doing just a bunch of different shit. And I've definitely said, because back then I was on like 4 to 6 plants every day, like every day, and it was just me just exploring, getting to know these plants, and sometimes, and like that was after I got to like know a lot of them. But because after I got to know a lot of them, I started to get to know them, mixing them together, trying to find different mixtures, trying to find different things. One of my favorite mixtures is red lotus mixed with wild daga and clip daga leaves, like wild daga flowers and clip daga leaves. That's a beautiful mixture. But I've definitely found different ways to explore consciousness and explore myself and heal myself and look at myself from different perspectives and think from a different perspective. And after these experiences, you come down and it's like you'll never like you were thinking differently while you were up there, and you might come down and start thinking the same, but you're thinking about, holy shit, what was I thinking about? Like, that was, and it's even with the plants, even with some of the mixtures when I took the plants. Yeah, it's interesting. But I would say that a psychonaut is just someone who probably explores with psychedelics. Uses LSD or mushrooms or, DMT or, mescaline or, ayahuasca, something like all of those things to explore. But a modern day shaman does the shaman thing, like, which is going on the plant diet, is taking different plants, and because it's a modern world, you can take plants from Africa, plants from South America, plants from North America, plants from Asia, and put them in a brew, like I'm whatever. But like I'm saying, like the possibilities are endless as long as you're not stupid about it, and as long as you are educated about it. I was so cautious with everything I did that I like people say, why would I research the LD50 to the molecule in these things? Because I want to make sure I'm not gonna die. Ain't nobody doing these plants, so I want to make sure that I'm okay. So I would look up the LD50 of, Nuciferian or stachydrin, which is the molecule that's in motherwort.